All right, welcome back or welcome to the Pursuit of Calling podcast, where my goal and purpose is to provide you with the strategies and tools needed to successfully discover and pursue your God-given calling. I'm your host, Thomas Carney, and today we're talking about small wins. Okay, so whenever I was a little bit more, physically able, and maybe one day I'll be able to do this again. When I would go on runs in my own neighborhood, and I would go maybe a few days a week. And the hardest part of my run was when I would get about to the halfway point, which is like the furthest point from my home, and I would start to get intimidated by how much distance I had to get from where I was to where I wanted to be, which was at home. And I decided what I ended up doing was breaking that up into small bite-sized pieces, breaking that big goal into something small. I think you can already get where we're going. So what I would do, I would look at, for instance, every mailbox. I would look at the closest mailbox right in front of me, and in my head, it'd be like, okay, I just got to get to that mailbox. Then I hit that, I pass that mailbox, and like, that's a win. Then look at the next one. I just got to get to that mailbox. That's a win. And sometimes I look 2 or 3 mailboxes down. It's like, I just got to get to that mailbox. And then if I can do that, I can do the next one too. So I just keep running to the next mailbox. And I keep doing that the whole way home. And before I know it, I'm home. And the time it took to get from where I was to where I wanted to be, one, didn't seem like it took as long, but it also caused me to endure the journey longer, since I wasn't just sitting there intimidated by how long I still had to go to get from where I was to where I wanted to be. So you guessed it already. We're talking about small wins. I guess you didn't have to guess because I said it in the intro, but small wins are extremely important when you're pursuing your calling. And what we're going to be talking about today is about how to get them set up in order for them to be productive, realistic, and measurable. This concept can be translated to pretty much any goal that you have in any area of your life. It can be financial, personal growth, relationships, career, and all of those wrap up into the goals you have for your calling. Another word for a small win is a milestone. You might have heard that one before. I like how George Campbell puts it for paying off debt using the Ramsey solution debt snowball. He says this. He says, the quick wins you get with a debt snowball help you to believe you can actually pay off your debt. And if you believe it, you'll start behaving like it. Now, what is the debt snowball, and what does he mean by if you believe it, you're going to start behaving like it? And why is that important to what we're talking about here? Let me explain. So you're paying off, the debt snowball is this. You pay off the smallest debt first. A lot of people disagree with that, but I did it and it makes a lot of sense. You pay off the smallest debt first, you get that quick win, and then you gain financial, in this instance, and mental momentum to hit the next larger debt harder than you did the last one. Now, how does this apply? Let me explain. So you get that part where the quick win gave you momentum. It gave you that, not just validation, but it gave you this satisfaction. It gave this knowledge that, yeah, I can do this. Give you the knowledge that, yeah, I can do this thing. In this instance, I can pay off this debt, which means I can pay off the next one. And instead of looking at all the debt you have, all chunked together into one pot, being like, wow, I have $100,000 of debt left. And you're like, wow, that's intimidating. Or you just take the smallest debt, which maybe is like a medical bill of a few $1,000s. And you're like, okay, I got that one. So with what we're talking about, small wins, it's the same thing. Same idea. Every time I hit a mailbox when I was running, it gave me that mental fortitude to go to the next one. So now let's dive into making these small wins, these milestones, productive. And all it means to make it productive is making sure that the milestones you're setting are actually going to get you closer to your ultimate goal. If you want, maybe, for instance, I have this in my notes. If you want to write a book, what would a good first milestone be? It could be as simple as start writing. Maybe you didn't start yet. And maybe it won't be any good, but the point is to start. Or reaching out to, maybe it's reaching out to someone that is ahead of you, of where you are, and learning some things that you don't know. Maybe you have a certain list of specific things that you want to learn. You know somebody that can help you out, or you figure out who you can ask and then ask them and reach out to them and hook up with them and then learn the things that you're looking to learn. Maybe that would be a win too, to get you closer from where you are to not having the knowledge to having the knowledge, to get you closer to writing the actual book. And you didn't see me, but I just made a motion that was like duh. But it's not actually as obvious. I shouldn't do that. And I also want you to remember that productivity, it does not equal being busy, and it does not equal perfection. You're not. You want to make sure that you're not just making yourself busy in order to feel productive. You don't want to try to do 5 different things, try to hit all these 5 different small wins all at once, just to make yourself busy, just to make yourself feel like you're being productive and getting closer to your goal, because realistically you might not be in that instance. The point of these milestones is that you work on one at a time, so they incrementally will grow. Just like when paying off your debt, it makes way more sense to pay off one first and pay off the next one, because your financial power will ramp up as you go. So then, I also want to go back to perfection. Perfection is a myth. You're going to mess up, and your goals most likely will change. But if you're going from where you are to where you want to be, like I said earlier about writing a book, you need a start. You just need to start. You're going to mess up. Your goals are you're going to mess up. You're going to learn from your mistakes. But the point is to start. And maybe you'll have some more milestones along the way that you didn't see before. That's okay. Okay, let's move on to being realistic. Kind of folds into that. We just want to make sure that the milestones or the small wins that you're setting can actually be accomplished in a reasonable amount of time. Or at all, actually. We want to make sure that you're actually able to accomplish these goals. I like how John Maxwell says in his book, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, he says, there's a difference between having a dream that propels you to achieve and pulling an idea out of thin air that has no connection with who you are and what you can actually do. You must have some kind of criteria for knowing if the desire you have matches the abilities you possess. Do you have the abilities? Do you actually want to do all that will take to even do this smaller part of the bigger goal? If the answer is no to either of those questions, you may need to do some introspective work. And I highly recommend getting the 15 Valuable Laws of Growth. Put that link into the description so you can pick that up for yourself. It's not a promo code. It's just, I really love the book. I want to go back to I want to reiterate what he said, what John said. He said, you must have some kind of criteria for knowing if the desire you have matches the abilities you possess. Maybe this small win that you need, if you're not able to do this small win, maybe your big goal needs to change. But like if you come to that point where you're like, man, this small win maybe isn't realistic right now, but all these other ones are. For instance, this could be true too. Maybe this small milestone I set isn't realistic. Maybe don't have the ability to do it. And maybe you can actually gain that ability. Maybe this milestone is actually one that you need to set further down the line, and there's some steps that you have to do before that. Let's make sure you're staying realistic. And finally, like I said, your goals need to be measurable. Your wins, your small wins, your milestones need to be measurable. How you know when you've actually accomplished your goal? I recommend like I said, I recommend each one being measurable. For instance, for me last week, I decided I was going to reach out to people and get 2 coaching clients to coach for free. And this week, I'm doing the same thing. I'm reaching out to people, and my goal is to get 2 more coaching clients for free. And I'm pretty sure I already got 1. So we might ramp that up to 3. I love the power of 1 more. Ed Milet, look that up. But there's a, I want to use the same example as before. If you're writing a book, each milestone could be how many pages you write in a day. If you have, maybe it could be 10 pages, it could be 5. It's all up to you and when you actually want to accomplish the final product by. You get to set that pace. And I just thought of something as I was saying this. I get some of these goals aren't actually maybe some of them aren't actually measurable. Maybe I should say they don't seem like they could be. Like I said earlier, like maybe you're reaching out to somebody to learn something new. Well, how many? Let's take that into consideration. How would you make that measurable? Well, how many new things do you want to learn? 2, 3, 5, 10? Is this the only person you're going to reach out to? How many people should you reach out to? 2, 3, 10? Like everything can be measured. All these things can be measurable. Now, there's a whole thing I was just learning about recently that these would all be considered performance goals, things that you're actually going to do. But then there's another thing called growth goals. Now, that's a whole other episode that I have actually just been learning about recently. And those growth goals are goals that you set for yourself that help you gain the ability to be able to actually achieve these performance goals. Which is like the root of all of this. So that's definitely an episode I want to make pretty soon. So let's just do a quick recap and then we'll wrap it up. So we talked today about how to make your small wins. Well, actually, first we talked about what small wins were, and then we talked about how to make small wins, your milestones, into being productive, realistic, and measurable. Being productive does not mean perfection. It does not mean just being busy so that you feel productive. Making them realistic and make sure that you can actually do them at all. And being measurable, it just means adding some sort of quantitative value so you know when you have actually accomplished this goal. So there you go, guys. I hope this helps, and I hope you're able to take this and apply it to your goals today. So thanks for listening to this episode of the Pursuit of Calling podcast. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you shared this episode out on Facebook and Instagram. That really does help. And don't forget to leave this podcast a 5-star review. We don't need those 1-star reviews. Again, I'm going to say it again. Like Dave Ramsey says, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's not nice. All right. Keep on pursuing your calling, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm going to say it again. Keep pursuing.